feeling good? Are you all ready for the class? Okay, fine. What we have learned in the last class? What is the title of the first lesson in your book? All about a dog. What is the title? All about a dog. Who is the writer here? A.G. Gardner. Who is the writer? A.G. Gardner. What is his full name? Alfred George Gardner. And in this lesson all about a dog, about whom we have learned? About a little dog. What kind of dog is that? It's a Pekingese dog, isn't it? Shall we revise what we have learned in the last class? Okay. In a cold night, a bus is moving on the road. In a stopping, 3 passengers get into the bus, 2 women and a man with a little dog. The woman with the little dog is wearing a sealskin coat. It's a very expensive dress. The conductor gets fare from the 3 passengers and then he looked at the little dog and he gets very angry. Why did he get angry? Because in the bus they did not allow pet animals because it's a discomfort for the other passengers, isn't it? That's why the conductor strictly said to that woman, please take your dog and go to the top of the bus because it's a double-story bus. Have you all seen that? Okay. Then what the lady did? The lady refused to go on the top of the bus. Why? Because it's a cold night and the wind is heavy. If she goes on the top of the bus, what will happen? She will get cold, cough, fever, pneumonia and everything. And so the lady refuses to go on the top of the bus. But the conductor is firm in his decision. The conductor is strong in his decision and he is showing his hatred, his anger towards the passengers. Why? The reason behind that is he is always standing on the footstep of the bus and the people, the passengers are sitting comfortably inside the bus, but he should stand at the doorstep of the bus. That makes him to be distressed. That makes him to be angered towards the passengers. Okay? And so he is showing his hatred. He is showing his anger towards the passengers. And the narrator is traveling in the bus, the same bus. And the narrator is thinking in his mind that something is going to happen. Some problem is going to burst out here. And then what happened? The narrator compares this conductor with one of the characters of H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells is a famous writer. He is famous for his science fiction. And in one of his works, he has written similarly the character which is similar to this conductor, that is a resentful employee. So this narrator is comparing that resentful employee with this conductor. Here, the narrator compares H.G. Wells, one of the characters in his famous work, with the conductor. The conductor is showing that much hatred towards the passengers because he has been waiting all alone in the stop, the footstep of the bus, and the people, the passengers are sitting comfortably inside the bus. This makes him to hatred among the passengers. Okay, and then what he asked the lady? He asked the lady to take the dog onto the top of the scolding this conductor. He is more worse than a dictator. He could have joined the army. And let's report about him to the police. Let's get back our fares. This is what the passengers in the bus are shouting. They are scolding the conductor. And this little Peking's dog, without knowing anything, he is blinking in that night light. This is what we have seen in the last class, isn't it? Now let's see what happened next. A young man in the bus, one of the passengers, he takes out his pocketbook and he is asking the conductor about his identity number. As we all have identity card, isn't it? Similarly, the conductor is having his own identity card, identity number. And this young man, one of the passengers in the bus, he is asking the conductor, show me your identity number. And this conductor calmly, imperturbably, he shows his number. This is my number. And again, this passenger, he asked the conductor to give back his money, give back his bus fare. But the conductor did not give his bus fare back. And this conductor, he behaves like he is superior than the others. He then stepped out of the bus and is walking on the pavement. Do you know what is the pavement? A pavement? Have you all heard about the word pavement? Pavement is the footstep by the roadside. It is for people to walk. You all have seen? Yes, that is what called pavement. So the conductor steps out of the bus and is walking on the pavement. He is walking here and there, just like a cat is walking here and there. And then all the passengers in the bus get angry, and one by one they are moving. They are coming out of the bus and started to walk because they have to go to their house. It's almost the midnight, so they have to reach their home back, isn't it? So all the passengers one by one, they are getting out of the bus and are going away. And by this time, a policeman came there. And the policeman looked into the bus. At once, he looked into the bus. People in the bus started shouting. Because it is the responsibility of a policeman to solve all the problems there. But this policeman did not do that. By this time, another bus came on the road. People in this bus tried to stop that bus. But that bus did not stop. And the narrator is commenting that both the conductor of this bus and the conductor of that bus which crossed just now, and both the drivers, the driver of this bus and the driver of the new bus which came just now as villains, both are sticking together. Both have similar characters. So the narrator is commenting on both the drivers and both the conductors of the two buses. That bus did not stop for these passengers, and this bus driver stopped the bus and is drumming on the steering wheel. And the policeman also did not consider about the problem, and he just listened to the queries, listened to the complaints of the passengers. And the lady with the little dog, she is complaining to him that the conductor asked me my name, my address and my number. I am ready to give my number, but the conductor did not get it from me. Then the policeman, oh, is it so? That is just only what the policeman said. The policeman just said, oh, is it so? And then he said, it is the rules. He is following the rules. He is looking like a perfect man. He is trying to become a perfect man. He is following the rules as a conductor. And then this policeman also moved away from that she started to scold the conductor. It's almost like killing the conductor. That much anger she got, and she is arguing with the conductor, and the conductor silently listened to that lady, what she said. And then this lady also started to scold the policeman, because what is the duty of a policeman? The duty of a policeman is to take responsibility, and he must have to solve the problem there. But what the policeman did, he just listened to the complaints of the passengers and just started to talk with other two constables. So this lady is shouting at the conductor and the policeman. She is saying that these policemen are like audience who are watching a drama. If a drama is going on in a theater, audience will look at that, isn't it? Similarly, this lady is saying this policeman is just like watching a drama. They are like audience. Then with her husband, the lady stepped out of the bus and she goes on her way. And few other passengers also move. And the young man at first take his pocket note and ask the number, the identity number of the conductor, isn't it? He also escaped from the bus. Now, the bus is almost empty and only 3 passengers with the dog is remaining. 2 women and a man. They 3 are firm in their decision. They are strong in their decision. And they decide not to step out of the bus, not to go out of the bus, not to go on to the top of the bus. And later, this lady with the dog, she decides, okay, everything is because of me. And so she decides to go on to the top of the bus. But the people who accompanies her, they did not allow her again. The woman said, if you go out, you will surely die. You will get pneumonia. And so, please stay inside the bus. And the man said, okay, let me take the dog with me and I will go on to the top. But the lady said, no, I will go to the top of the bus so that all the problems will get off. Okay, let's see what happened in the next class. Have you all understood? Shall I revise it once? What we have seen today? One of the passengers in the bus, a young man, he takes out his pocket note and is asking the conductor, is inquiring the conductor about his identity number. And the conductor calmly, imperturbably giving his number to showing his number. This is my number. This is my identity number. And that young man is asking his fares back, bus fares back, but this conductor refuses to give. And then what happened? Another bus crossed the road. People, the passengers, they tried to stop that bus, but that bus did not stop and it flied away from the place. And so the people in the bus gets very angry. By this time, another policeman came there and looked into the bus. At once he looked into the bus. What happened? People started to shout at him. They started to complain to the policeman. And he is saying it is his duty. The conductor is doing his duty. And what can I do for that? Then this lady, this woman with the little dog is saying, he asked my name and address. I am ready to give. But he did not get it from me. Then one of the ladies in the bus get very angry and she started to shout at the conductor. And she is saying, this policeman, they are good for nothing. What he did? He just talking with the 2 other constables. He is like watching a drama. What is drama going on here? No. He is like an audience who is watching a drama. What the hell is this? And then she also gets out of the bus. And one by one, all the passengers went out. And only 3 passengers remained there. Who are they? The 2 ladies and the man with the dog. And the lady decides, okay, let me go on to the top of the bus so that all the problems will end. This is what we have seen in this class, students. Let's see what happened in the next class. Alright?
Students, it's time to read the text. Take page number 13. The conductor came to the door. "What's your number?" said one passenger, taking out a pocketbook with a gesture of terrible things. "There's my number," said the conductor imperturbably. "Give us our fares back. You have engaged to carry us. You can't leave us here all night." "No fares back," said the conductor. 2 or 3 passengers got out and disappeared into the night. The conductor took another turn on the pavement, then went and had a talk with the driver. Another bus, the last on the road, sailed by, indifferent to the shouts of the passengers to stop. "They stick by each other, the villains," was the comment. Someone pulled the bell violently. That brought the driver round to the door. "Who is conductor of this bus?" He sneered and paused for a reply. None coming from the passengers, he returned to his seat and resumed drumming a rhythm on the steering wheel. There was no hope in that quarter. A policeman strolled up and looked in at the door. An avalanche of indignant protests and appeals burst on him. "Well, he's got his rules, you know," he said genially. "Give your name and address." "That's what he's been offered and he won't take it," said the lady. "Oh," said the policeman, and he went away and took his stand a few yards down the street, where he was joined by 2 more constables. And still the little dog blinked at the lights, and the conductor walked to and fro on the pavement like a captain on the quarter deck in the hour of victory. A young woman, whose voice had risen high above the gale inside, descended on him with an air of threatening and slaughter. He was immovable, as cold as the night and as hard as the pavement. She passed on in a flurry of impotence to the 3 policemen, who stood like a group of statuary up the street watching the drama. Then she came back, imperiously beckoned to her young man, who had sat a silent witness of her rage, and vanished. Others followed. The bus was emptying. Even the dashing young fellow who had demanded the number and who had declared he would see this thing through if he sat there all night had taken an opportunity to slip away. Meanwhile, the Pekingese party were passing through every stage of resistance to abject surrender. "I'll go on the top," said the sealskin lady at last. "You mustn't." "I will." "You'll have pneumonia." "Let me take it." This from the man. "Certainly not. She would die with her dog." It's time to learn the new words. Take page number 11. Seal skin, the skin and fur of seals used by people to make waterproof jackets and boots. Here, dressed expensively. The woman was dressed expensively. Her dress was very expensive. Pekingese, a small breed of dog with a pug nose, short legs and long hair. Mr. Wells, The poet compares the conductor with Mr. Wells. The English writer H.G. Wells, remembered for his science fiction. Mr. Wells, the English writer H.G. Wells, remembered for his science fiction. Venom, poisonous hatred. Venom, poisonous hatred. Harrow, great distress. Harrow, great distress. Rumpus, a lot of noise that is made especially by people who are complaining about something. Rumpus, a lot of noise that is made especially by people who are complaining about something. Imperturbably, calmly. Imperturbably, calmly. Sneered, mocked. Sneered, mocked, or teased in a hurtful way. Teased in a hurtful way. Avalanche, sudden burst. Avalanche, sudden burst. Indignant, angry. Indignant, angry. Genially, in a friendly and cheerful way. Genially, in a friendly and cheerful way. Quarter deck, the upper deck at the back of, where only the higher ranking officers on board are allowed to go. Impotence, the inability to change things or influence a situation. Impotence, the inability to change things or influence a situation. Imperiously, in a way that shows you expect people to obey you. Imperiously, in a way that shows you expect people to obey you. Abject, terrible and without hope. Abject, terrible and without hope.